Okay, I think with that, I would like to welcome Jeffrey Ha, Center Manager for the Marine Parade Center, to present on preventing abscondment.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Jinping. So my name is, I'm Jeffrey, actually the Center Manager for Marine Parade Center with St. Luke's. Today, my challenge sharing is actually about, they call us abscondment. Technically, we are talking about elders that wandering beyond the premise of the center. All right, so next slide, please. So most of our senior care centers, we definitely have about almost half or slightly more than that, our seniors are actually diagnosed with dementia. So, and many of them are actually prone to wandering, and at times they may even leave the premises. Because generally, elders with dementia, we can say that they are not really frail. Quite a number of them are actually ambulant, they can walk on their own. So we want to give them the autonomy, the freedom to move around. So that also poses the little risk that they might wander out of the center. So that's the things that we do experience. So what we do is that as for the senior care centers, the staff are accountable for every seniors, their safety, especially when they are with us. When families drop off the loved ones with us. So we need to know and to ensure that actually every senior is accounted for in the center until the families do come and pick them up. So what happens that when seniors do leave the centers, then that will be quite a big risk, partly because they get lost, especially when they're out on their own. Having elders with dementia means that they do not know where to go. They might think that they know, but actually you'll be start wandering around, and they will not be able to find help or asking for help. And when you're outside a safe environment like a senior care centers, then there's always a danger of falls because of the pavements or traffic, and they will not know whether they are tired. They will not know whether they are thirsty, and that even poses a situation where the elders become dehydrated. Yeah, next slide, please. So the challenge statement we're looking at is that how we can actually better monitor our seniors with dementias, that we can able still to give them the space for them to move around, but not to wander out of the center's premises. Yeah, so that's what we are looking at. Next slide, please. So what we have currently, the existing solutions is technically we will try to identify, we code them as runners, so that my staff actually can able to more like quote unquote eyeball them, or they take note of who our elders that tend to be more runners. Of course, physical ways of ensuring is that the entrances and the doors are all with EM locks. So we make sure the doors are always closed. Staff is to make sure to be there before before they leave or move away from the exits or entrances. They all make sure they are all locked. So at all times, staff has to be present at that time. Of course, always keeping an eye out for our elders that tend to have a higher tendency of leaving or wandering out of the center. What we do have challenges currently now is that it's very heavily reliant on my staff being alert. And sometimes when line of sight is out in the day, or when they are, the challenge is we cannot really monitor every individual's coming in and out, especially times when families come and fetch the elders. And then, but it might not be the elder that is the runner that is supposed to be go, and then he might just slip out when staff is not alert. So these are things that we do face in the midst currently now. Yeah. So sorry, next slide, please. So what we are looking at is generally some way, through advancement of technology, so that we can actually monitor and alert staff, whether through the handphone or through any means, so that they'll know that actually one of my elders actually wandered out of the center. Yeah. So these are or maybe some form of recognition of technology to limit door access, or some form of tracking mechanism that is, again, we try not to be invasive on the elders. So, elders with dementia tends to don't like to put things with them. They will start to take things off For example, in centers that we do have tags, name tags for the elders, so we can identify who they are. Sometimes they do take it off and then they just leave it on the table. Yeah, so these are things that we are hoping and see whether we can better help to manage our elders with dementia from wandering away from the centers. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeffrey. I think so. The request for any participants is to put your questions in the Q&A panel. I think, yeah, as we wait for questions from the public, I think a question from my end is on are there a specific set of procedures for your center when you have discovered that a senior has already absconded?
Procedure-wise, of course, we still rely on staff. So when the staff do find out that, like you said, the identified error is not in the center, not supposed to be in the center, of course, we'll be alerted and we'll have to fall back on CCTV because then we have to check the cameras that is pointing out at the CCTV at the entrances. Of course, staff will let us know when was the last time or any of my staff noticed that they're not around, or they have seen probably in the toilet came out. So we have a time frame and we quickly check the CCTV. So if you have the time frame, we know which exit, then I will activate the staff to fan out and then to look for the elders in which direction. In the general direction, then we'll fan out from the vicinity of the center. So the critical factor is the time. The longer the delay, the further you can wander out. And being ambulant elders, they can walk pretty fast. So a 5-minute or 10-minute delay, he can wander quite far away. That's what our experience. Yeah.
Okay, we're getting a few questions. I think these two are similar. First one's on how many % of your seniors are runners, and are they often the same person that kind of have repeat cases?
I think percentage-wise, one is one too many. I will say because it's someone's parents. Yes, I would say that that's why we have to identify them because they are generally the same one that runs out. Case in point, even for my side, I have one that left the center twice. Yeah, so yes, I could. That would be my answer. All right.
There's a question on alert mechanisms. Yeah, what form of alert mechanisms is ideal for you?
Alert system, I think, ideal for me. Sorry, the question. Ideal.
Like, I mean, what would a solution look like from your?
I mean, my staff all has handphones. I mean, it could be through a silent alert because the handphones are with them, or a station because I have a reception area. So I always have a staff there. It could be alert by a light or a silent alert. I don't think I want anything that's loud. So you get everyone a bit edgy when there's anything that is audible. Yeah, that would be ideal. So at least we know that it's been flagged up that someone is or one of our elders is not in the premise. Yeah.
A question from Lai Ping is, would you require the solution for all elderly folks or only for the runners?
I mean, for instance, of course, my main concern will be those that is identified runners. Generally, those who are frail or elders who are dementia but they are wheelchair bound, they don't really pose much of a risk. Yeah, so I would say that at least the identified ones we know. So at least we have a peace of mind. Yeah, now I have 3 that tends to wander out. So 3 means I have 3 staff to always keep an eye on them. Yeah. All right.
I think just tagging onto the alert. I know Jeff also mentioned about how having an alert that is not too explosive in nature and too alarming would keep the environment a lot calmer. But I suppose any alert system that can also be integrated with door access or the disabling of door access is also something that we can try to explore. So in that case, the alert is silent, but at the same time, it sort of prevents that elders with dementia or your runners to be exiting the center premises. Similarly, I suppose that also has to be integrated with some form of identity recognition technology, which was covered just now as well. So that also begs the question about like privacy and all that. So I suppose at the end of the day, it's going to also be inevitable to collect some data like your face, your entry exit timings. But if it's going to be used for the purpose of enabling and disabling access, then that is also something that we can consider in the long run. Of course, the different technical details about your metadata and IC and all that, that's something that we have to discuss back end how to navigate.
Okay, thank you. There's this question from Audrey. I think to break it down is there's in quotation, it's called a bus stop installation. This is where elders are informed that they could go to the bus stop if they want to go out. But in a sense, this bus stop is actually an installation within the center premise itself for them to kind of. Do you have any context on that, Jeffrey?
Sorry, meaning that this quote unquote bus stop is within the premise that they can go?
So I think, if correct me if I'm wrong, Audrey, but I think it's something for, maybe dementia patients to kind of engage with, like they might think that they're going to a bus stop, but actually it's still within the premise, so they actually don't wander out.
Generally, the elders that do leave is basically say, oh, I have to go home. Or my daughter is coming to fetch me. I see my daughter, and then they just walk out. I don't know whether it's quite relevant if having a bus stop, because then there's like diverting their attention back into the city. So preempt generally once, so I would say that the elders usually goes back means that either they will have a memory, say, oh, my granddaughter is coming back from school, I need to go back home to fetch them. So I'm not too sure how applicable technology like a bus stop will be able to get them to stay within the premise.
The thing is also the space constraint. So it depends on how large that solution would be. So I think we're trying to ensure that we maximize the space to the best of our capabilities. So if it's a huge solution, then perhaps that's a bit challenging for us to try to include. If it's something that's a bit smaller, I'm sorry, apologies, I'm not too familiar with the bus stop solution myself, but that's also just to note about the size of the actual solution with the space constraints in mind.
Yeah, but I think the intentions are for seniors to kind of go home. I think that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
A question from Tiong Keng is on facial recognition cameras placed at door access. I think also maybe can address what is your current door access solutions at the moment.
Current door access is only can be open when the staff is there with the access card, tapping out the card before the doors can be opened. So if any elders who stand at the door or wants to open without the access card, they are not able to open. So that's what we have in place now.
Okay. Any concerns on a facial recognition camera there?
I think pretty much like what Josh and even Nelson has mentioned earlier about the PDB issues. If you can recognize or identify an elder, or let's say, yes, the technology to know that this is a runner, then I think we have to work out on the back end about the PDB issues.
Okay.
But I think definitely we're open to see how, if every single center and at the main entry and exit area that access is granted for us, if a facial recognition camera can be placed, that it's something that definitely worth exploring.
Okay, I think I have a question on, are there specific periods when there's a high risk of abscondment for your centers?
The peak, quote unquote peak periods are generally when there's a lot of high movement. Generally like when transport comes in, morning when the elders comes in, and especially during time when they're going back. So much suffice to say, sometimes maybe 2 or 3 families come at the same time to fetch the elders back. So there's a lot of crowding technically. But now, of course, with the social distance, there isn't. But before that, I know they'll just wait at the waiting area. So doors are always opening and closing. And then that also obstructs the line of sight of staff. So as we are trying to get, it's pretty like your childcare, you got to look for your kid. So we got to find the elder, they're slow. Then, some with a walking frame, and then you got to, so that slowness sometimes give my runners, time to just slip out because the door is open. So these are things that we we do encounter. Yeah, it's usually high flow, but throughout the day, especially when there's activities on or programs on during lunchtime when no movement or no one goes out, the odds are lower. Chances are very low that they leave without our knowledge. Yeah.
Okay, I think that is all. Final call for any additional questions from participants. Yeah, also final call to, Jeffrey, Nelson, Joshua, any final things to add? Yep.
Pretty much to add, I think don't have to really limit to facial recognition. I mean, we are also exploring like proximity, like somewhere they are around the door or they're just hanging around or wandering around the door. It suffice sometimes because then we know, hey, he's not supposed to be there. Rather than leave and he leaves, he slips out. I think that's a little bit too late. So I mean, preemptive wise, this also can be explored, whether they're just near the door. That kind. Because our center is pretty big. Some centers are like in the void that are pretty long, so the entrance are at the ends. So if they are in the center, then of course no issue because we know that. But as they start to approach nearer to the doors, then that can also be explored. Yeah.
We definitely have spoken and explored with some tech solutions that provide tokens or applications on handphones to enable some geofencing, i.e., after you exit a certain boundary and alerts is sent, even though it may not be very instant. So of course that's more of a after it happens and then a trigger is sent rather before. So that's something to note as well.
I think there's questions on elders or seniors. Do they mind wearing tags or lanyards?
Lanyards, because now currently the center do have tags. They will obligingly wear because we explained to him that you have to wear it. So that is the only thing that we can place on them. We clip that on their shirt. I will say even my runners do put it on. It's just that once 3 o'clock, they know it's going home, then they'll just take it out and put it on the table. I'll pass to my staff. So I would say that yes, but lanyard, I'm not too sure whether they are comfortable. I have some elders families that actually do give them a GPS tracker token that they keep with their keys because they all keys for them to go home. So then just in case they wander out, I have some families that have that, but they are not generally my runners. My runners, so far, they don't have any of this with them. Yep. Hope that will answer the question.
Okay. On the question on how far, in a typical day, how far do they can they wander around your center? Or are they usually contained within? Do they leave the center?
No, they don't leave the center. Yeah, until families are here to fetch them, they don't leave the center. Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Any response on tech that you have tried but didn't work as well? I think Joshua touched on the geofencing.
Yeah, I briefly touched on that just now about some solution providers that provides tokens or saying, you can install an application on the phone so that enables some form of geofencing. But we noted that the alert system may not be very instant because I'm not sure, maybe the mechanics is relying on some form of GPS, and GPS is dependent on a certain radius. So I'm not too sure of the technicalities, but we note that it's not as instant as we would like it to be, given that response time is something that we prioritize when elders wander beyond the center premises.
Just to add on what Josh said, the only one that we wanted to try, first the tokens are pretty heavy, it's pretty big, it's huge, the size of, I think about 50 cents, more than, I think the size of a carom seat size, the carom board seats, so that kind of size, and it's pretty heavy. There is also at least, I think the refresh rate for the software to pick up the token out of the premise, I think it was like a minute or a minute and a half, so it's a bit too long. So before it says that it's found out that it's really out of the center, so to say like a geofencing. So the lag was too long in a sense. Yeah, if we were trying to simulate, like for example, I just walked out and then they didn't pick up for a good 2 minutes before we found out that was already has left the center. We did try it. We used my staff went and tried. I just don't keep quiet. I just let us know. They didn't tell us when they want to leave. and we couldn't pick it up at least about 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes. That actually he has left the center. So that's
Okay.
a bit too long, we find.
Okay. Question from Sean is on kind of the demographics of people who abscond. Is it something like 80% of abscondments are by 20% of seniors? Or is it a kind of a bigger population of seniors? Or is it a very concentrated population that abscond?
Yes, they are. It's concentrated. I don't have that many. Like I said, for now, at the center of about 50, I have about 3. But that is for now. I'm not sure. Let's say if the other elders that comes in, we'll have more. But it won't be that kind of like 20%. Because like I said, half is dementia, the other half are frail. So frail, they won't move far. They can't move far. Yeah.
Okay. Question on, do seniors wear a center shirt? Are they identifiable there, or is it normal clothes?
They wear their normal clothes. We don't have like a center clothes for them. Partly also we give them a choice to wear. The only thing that is common is that they do have a name tag, the usual tag like you have for Converse, not a lanyard, but a clip-on, so that it's just clip on their shirt or the blouse. Yeah, I have a few that because of dementia, they'll take out, we clip at the back of their blouse behind the collar, so we know, so they know they are there. Yeah. So you're talking about wearables. Jenny is just a tag. Yeah.
Another question. I think we have 2 more. Would it be good to have a proximity solution using facial recognition that can show real time where the runners are?
Yes, better still actually.
Whether in the middle, in the center, or at the edge. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay, so live tracking is even better.
Yeah.
And I think final question from Sean is on leveraging the current trace together tokens to detect Bluetooth signals near the doors. I guess first question is, do all seniors have the trace together token, and do they carry it around? I think maybe first question is that, what's the current uptake in the seniors?
Actually, they are not very keen. I don't see anyone carrying their trace together. Well, I think some of the resident elders already have collected it. I'm not too sure. I don't see it carrying with them. It's pretty big, the trace together token. Yeah.
I think what I hear is any kind of additional IoT or gadgets. Usually it's kind of a encumbrance to the seniors to carry it about throughout their day.
I think they rather carry their IC, maybe because it's just rather scan their cards. Yeah, the IC to go entry, but with instead of a token. Yeah, and they're not IT savvy. They don't have handphones, so they don't use the Trace Together app. Yeah.
Okay. Looks like everything has been answered. Thank you very much, Jeffrey. Thank you very much, Nelson and Joshua.